Welcome to the place in which Pinterest dreams used to go to die. We used to call it Zone Le Tragique, for lack of a better term. Except for this weed. This weed's name is Gary, and he has survived where nothing else has. So, good job, Gary. Picture this. Parisian charm, but backyard prairie chic, of course. I want plants that whisper je t'aime to me while I read a novel in my hammock. I want string lights everywhere, and I want vertical gardening in the background. A space where Cain can say bonjour to the morning sunlight, and hanging baskets everywhere, just randomly placed, like floating mysteriously in open air, anti-gravity if you will. So today we're saying au revoir to the chaos that is that corner, and bonjour to a French-inspired relaxation space in the shade where redheads belong.
I popped into my local RONA, and let me tell you, it was like DIY Disneyland. I came in looking like someone who just Googled how to build a floating deck, and you know what?
They had everything.
Meet Warren, RONA's lumber expert, also my new bestie. Sorry, Warren, your therapy's on me.
Why do they look different?
Warren was full of ideas. I asked about how to measure a 2x4, and he didn't even laugh at my sketch. He even offered to cut everything to the correct dimension when I asked how to use a saw. But there's one piece of advice that I didn't take from Warren, mostly because I know myself.
You won't need that many. No.
Are you sure? Are you sure I won't need this? I might need this many.
If you plan on losing a lot, you don't.
I do, actually. Burying them like a squirrel in the garden. Warren may be my best friend, but I'm going to betray him for the first time and get this giant thing of screws, because while he said I don't need that many unless I lose them, he doesn't know me fully yet. So, sorry Warren, but you just made a big sale.
Now, because my retention is so great, we'll get back to the whole lumber floating deck thing here in a little bit.
This is the one he told us not to get because that will poison me. This is the one he said to get, right? Cameraman?
Now it's time to go check out the flowers.
What I'm looking for are shade plants, which are normally boring, but with this sort of a selection, I think we're gonna be just fine. Think subtle elegance with a hint of photosynthesis. That's the goal. Okay, so what I'm looking for, despite actually knowing what I'm doing for the most part, is to look at these tags, because it does change depending on what sort of plants you're going with. And let's face it, there's so many different types of hostas and clematis. It's really difficult to know for sure which ones are zone 3, etc. and so forth. So the first thing I'm obviously looking for is shade. So that has like a beautiful black sun, just like my heart. That is what we're looking for. The next thing I always look for is the cold hardiness. Hardiness is also what it's called. Zone is what it's called. And anything that's lower than our zone, so I'm in a zone 3 or dead on the zone, exactly zone 3 are what we're looking for. This goes down to zone 2. So I know it's definitely going to make our winter, even if I chose not to mulch it. One thing I have noticed at RONA is that all the cold hardiness zones match here. I haven't found a single perennial yet that has a zone that's higher than something that can survive here in Saskatoon. Make sure you do a quick Google on what's best for your city. That's for the perennials. Let's go look at the annuals. Okay, so for annuals, we usually have a little mini tag, and generally speaking, it's going to be right on the front what the growing conditions are, and it's going to say plant in part shade in this case. Other thing it could say is part shade, part sun. It could say full sun, it can say full shade. All you want to look for is either part shade or full shade. If you are in absolute darkness, say like underneath a tree or something like that, you want to go for full shade absolutely every time. This is so pretty. Look at that flower. This is a beautiful flower. So let's talk about the pots themselves. This is a great example of a pre-made pot from RONA that has what we call a thriller, a filler, and then a spiller. But you can make these up on your own, and you can make them shade or full sun. We just have to read the tags accordingly. So let's go find some examples of each. These are what we call dahlias, and they're great when it comes to a thriller. Now, when you use a thriller, you want to use it mostly when the pot is on the ground, maybe at hip level. You'd never use a thriller higher up, and you'd never use something that mounds or fills higher up. Those ones you'd only use something cascading. So this is a great thriller. It could be used for a filler if you wanted to go that route. And you can very quickly figure out where they belong because it'll tell you on the tag. If it's a sun that's cut in half with one half black and the other half open or clear, that's a part sun, meaning it does well anywhere that has part sun or part shade. It does not do well where it's super hot and full sun, and it doesn't do well if it's kept in complete shade. So this is a great middle ground if you're unsure as to whether or not you have shade or full sun. Start here. Now, all of these petunias are great examples of what we call filler, or you can also consider them mounding. So they will work in both beds and in containers. They don't have any height and they don't cascade, meaning they don't particularly do well in hanging baskets unless, of course, you're getting a wave petunia or like a super petunia, which is what are in these hanging baskets up here. And again, you can see this one can go in full sun and it can go in part sun, part shade. So this is a very versatile plant. If you're in doubt, petunias are definitely the ones to go for. Here's a great example of something that does well in full shade, and it is a thriller. So this one has a completely blacked out sun. It gets incredibly tall, but here's the hack when it comes to coleus. You can actually pinch these off and make a little mini mound and start new plants from the original. So it's kind of versatile in the sense that you can use it for multiple different uses, and you're gonna see this when we get back home, reused multitude of different times. Okay, so let's go head home. I have a mix of hanging baskets along with pots that I set up on my own using the decor that's here. So you can see kind of in action what this will look like when we have the thriller, the filler, and then the spiller. So when I chose my plants, I wanted to go with a mix. I wanted to go for mounding things like the coleus, pansies, begonias, as well as some climbing items, such as one of my absolute favorites, clematis. They have a huge selection of clematis, every color you could possibly imagine. When I tell you flowers on clematis are stunning, they're stunning. I promise you, they're so unique, so cool. Not only that, they are a zone 3 plant that absolutely thrives in our cooler space here in Canada, plus they trail. And that means they're gonna go up our trellis. That's all fancy like. So now the reason for wanting to go vertical in this space in some areas is because the fence that we have isn't the most structurally sound, I guess you could say, for putting hanging basket hangers on. So either I need freestanding shepherd's hooks or I need some sort of other infrastructure in place. So that's why we went with a trellis that is up against the back wall. It is going to completely soften out that back wall. I will do a garden tour come August and you guys will be absolutely shocked by how beautiful that back area looks. Is going to be stunning. So when it comes to trailing plants, these add a little bit of pizzazz, specifically when we're going for like a French bistro vibe, because quite often when you Pinterest or Google this, they have a lot of like overhead hanging plants and that sort of thing. So 3 options that I went with was this absolutely gorgeous Boston fern that is ginormous. I also went with the fuchsia, and then angel wing begonia is another option for a shadier spot that will do incredibly well and give us that kind of spilling, heroin fainting type view. Let's go to the soil now. I think I'm obsessed with this mostly because I'm a soil scientist, but what I will say is you're not going to find many plants that are going to argue to the contrary of me being awesome. So we have 2 options. We have potting soil mix and we have a garden soil mix. So in this project, I used 2 types of soil. One was potting soil, the other one was black earth. Now there's a huge difference between these 2. If I was to put this in ground or into any of the containers in mass, it'd be, first off, incredibly expensive. Second off, it's going to compact incredibly easy, and it's just overall not going to have the right structure for what it needs to be. So when it came to the raised bed and the in-ground portion, black earth was what was up on the docket to be used in this space. It doesn't have perlite. You could by all means definitely mix in a cow manure or a compost if needed. You could mix in peat if you wanted, but for the first year, if you wanted to just fill the space with black earth, then this is a great option. The quality of the Value Plus, which I believe is the RONA brand, because I grabbed a few, and this is the one after I opened it, I was like, no, I really like this. It's made in Canada, which is awesome. When it came to the pots, whether it's the hanging pots or the containers, anything like that, even the grow bags, potting soil mix is what you want to go with. It is a mix of peat and compost and perlite. This one does have a slight bit of nutrients in it, nothing crazy because it is organic. And this is nice, airy, fluffy, light, and it's perfect when it comes to containers. This mix in particular, I used in the grow baskets and the hanging baskets because it is a little bit of a heavier mix, which is what I want in spaces that either are going to utilize water very quickly and I'm gonna have to be on top of all the time, and or in spaces that are just overall exposed more. So plastic containers tend to hold more moisture, glazed synthetics hold more moisture. Grow bags are there's a lot of air exchange happening there. So because of that, I went with this heavier mix for those containers. I got bits and pieces of footage when it came to the actually assembly and what this all looked like. And I'm not gonna lie, I was a little intimidated. We are not woodworking people here in this house. We've got a mechanic and we've got someone who plays with plants and dirt. But let me tell you, huge shout out to Warren, who was completely correct on the nails screws, the screw situation. I didn't need that whole box, did not need that whole box by any stretch of the imagination, but guess what? I've got a whole bunch of screws here, so I can practice woodworking at this point, indefinitely. And we did get a little bit creative in some places. That trellis behind me is not cattle panel, shockingly enough. That seems to be the popular one that everyone uses. That is actually construction or concrete steel. I'll pop a link for it down below, but we spray painted that with like a rust resistant trim clad spray paint, framed it in against the fence, again, to give it that little extra stability that I mentioned the fence currently does not have. And then we put little spiky things on it because I thought it kind of looked like the Quebec flag with the little leaf, the fleurs or whatever they're called. Yeah, those things, they don't look like that. But in my mind, when I was at RONA, I was like, it looks like that. Anyways, so it looks pretty in that way. The deck is heavy duty. I can do lots on the deck. The deck is meant to last here. So I'm actually pretty excited for this because I'm going to use this as like a home base for filming a lot of stuff, as well as for just sitting down somewhere. I don't have anywhere to sit on the ground, if you will, because I don't have any grass. I don't really have anything that's not wood chip and rock, and let's face it, neither one of those are comfortable for our tushies. This, however, is going to be wonderful for that, so I'm excited to utilize it. Now, a lot of the flowers are annual flowers, so I just need to water and fertilize as I would any annual flower. There are some, however, that are perennial. So for example, we've got rhubarb, which is perennial, and we've got clematis, which is perennial. We've also got some horseradish, perennial, and then I do have some black currant in that new kind of space along the fence. Again, obviously perennial. These ones I need to take extra care with watering regularly, and then I want to make sure I mulch this space incredibly well, particularly the rhubarb and the clematis, which are in that raised bed, just to help it overwinter here in Saskatchewan, which is a zone 3 for anyone who's wondering. I may have had to go back multiple times, but guess what? I have new best friends.
Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to.
So that's all that matters. I dreamed of shade, a little bit of sparkle, romantic, if you will, for reading my romance novels, and Gary. Gary has a headstone now, so thank you, Gary, for your contribution. You were the inspo behind getting my button gear to change this corner around. Plus, I have like 10 new personal skills that I can add to my resume, so I am so much more hireable for when my YouTube career tanks, eventually. So, if you have a forgotten corner, or a Pinterest board full of pipe dreams, their in-store folks are amazing. Their online store, equally as impressive. Chef's kiss.
RONA, thank you so much for sponsoring today's video. Now, Geek Crew, excuse me while I go relax, because I deserve it.